Welcome back to Stories at Work, a series where I've been speaking with leaders and asking them to share incidences from their lives and seeing what we can learn from those. Today we are at Cipla and I'll be speaking with Prabir Jha. I asked Prabir to share an incident that has happened in his life that has shaped a belief that he strongly holds, and this is what he shared.
I'll go back to 2006 and it's now possibly a story, but it's an experience I underwent. It possibly was my most strategic and difficult 60 minutes of conversation. I had been elevated as the CHRO, and I was a reasonably young CHRO. And 5 weeks after being elevated, my CEO then, G.B. Prasad, who was the CEO of Dr. Reddy's, he walked into my room one afternoon with his cup of tea. And he asked me, "Prabir, what are you doing?" And I said, "No, I'm just correcting some grammar of some draft that I'm going to send to you." And he made a very straight comment. He says, "If you as a CHRO are needing to correct grammar of an announcement that I have to send, obviously something is not right here. You should sack people who can't send you, a grammatically correct draft." And as most managers, we start protecting and defending our teams. But I think the message was loud and clear. You are not paid to do someone else's job. You are paid to do your job. And many of us are mistakenly assuming that, we are taking care of our teams by covering up rather than improving competence. And it was a long story, but I do remember a second part of that story. And that part of the story was, he says, "I see so many people wanting to see you, because I had not given up my old job. I had not hired a person for my old job. So I was doing that operational job, and then I had this new job as a CHRO. And he says, "When do you get time to think?" Now it kind of was ouch, right? Because I thought I was working long hours. I was really working for the benefit of the company. But this was a sharp question, and I really didn't have an answer. I did mutter something, I don't remember what. But at the end of the day, he said something which no CEO would typically say. And I'm so grateful to him that he told me this absolutely point blank on that particular day. And I had a round table. And he says, "Prabir, every week, spend an afternoon leaning back into your chair, putting your feet up on this table, shutting your eyes and just thinking, 5 years from now, what should this company be needing to look like? What kind of talent, what kind of leadership, what kind of culture would we need to get? And push me on that agenda." This is what I feel would be my expectation, strategic expectation of my CHRO. Now, why I think it's a very powerful story and an anecdote is many of us prefer to do a job 2 levels lower. And bosses never tell us that my expectation is for you to do your job, if not do a job higher. And I'm so glad it happened at a time when I was just getting onto my CHRO journey. The ability to be able to focus on things that truly matter and not on the hours that seem to be drawing on. And therefore to start influencing, thinking and influencing really the strategic shifts in a company. The rest has been history. I mean, I've gone on to bigger things and I have had a great run and God has been kind. But this story has always been part of my fireside chats because it really hurt at that time. But in many ways, it made me who I become. And I'm eternally grateful to G.B. Prasad for telling me what he told me that afternoon.
What a lovely story. And what an important point, that one must do the role that you are promoted to rather than your old role. Now, clearly Prabir couldn't have made the impression he made on me, and I'm sure on you, if he had just said that, which is, once you're promoted, do the role you've been assigned and not your old role. When he narrated this point along with that story, that life experience, this will now stay with us. That is the power of stories. You can learn how to do this yourself by reading my book, Stories at Work. Thanks for watching.